Start with the supplies we're gonna need today to make these sandals. The first and the most important is the shoe last, and it's a mold. I use size 43 for my shoe size. So I have a pair here that I purchased through icanmakeshoes.com, and that's the tutorial, the course I took online that helped me be able to make shoes the way I do today. Next thing is the leather. You're gonna need the leather for the outer leather, and today I'm gonna be using fabric. And the fabric I'll be using is this Dior fabric I purchased from Fabric Viva. I like designer shoes, and therefore I try to make my own, give my own flair. I'm not necessarily making their shoes. I'm just making designer inspired shoes. Typically, when I use fabric, I try to use really soft leather on the inside so the shoe is very comfortable. So this is the soft pink leather I'm using today for the lining. And you also need interfacing whenever you're using fabric to make the fabric a lot stiffer, so it's easier to use and more sturdy. I need my insoles. These insoles I purchased from Last Assembly, Christina, through Etsy, and she is great. I love her supplies. This is supposed to be size 40, however I wear size 43 and I have to cut some off, so it's pretty good. I use it for most of my shoe makes. Sometimes I have to take off this front piece and attach a Texan board when it's a pointy toe shoe, but however most of the time it's just enough the way it is. The other great supply I get from Christina is the heels. I love block heels. I'm pretty tall, I'm 5'10", therefore I do not tend to wear very high heels. I love block heels. They support pretty well, they're comfortable. And so these 2.5 inch block heels I purchased from Christina also through Etsy. I'll put the link in the description box below. She is through Etsy, and she has, I think she has 2.5 and 3.5 heights, and they're pretty good. I love them. They're really, I use them in a lot of my shoe makes. Of course, you do need glue. This is water-based glue that you use for the upper to put things intact, and you also need cement that holds the heels and that holds the soles in place. So this is a very important part of the shoe make, the cement. For making the design, you do need, and drawing, you do need leather marking pen, silver marking pens. And I usually have a few around because I tend to drop them, lose them. So I have a whole pack I bought from Amazon for $100. And they're great for marking and for drawing on leather. Then you need tape, and I use masking tape to design the shoe. That's my fun part of the shoe, is designing. And you need a board to do the skiving and shaving on, something really hard that's easy to shave on and not make marks all over the table. And then I'm just gonna give you the main things I need, and then this is the last thing, pliers that you use to pull the leather underneath the sole. There's many small supplies, and I'll talk to you about them as we go along, but these are the main supplies that you need for shoemaking. There's two other things that I use that I major, and one of them is EVA, high density EVA foam, and that is this is what makes my shoes very comfortable. I put it on the insole, so I put it over this insole, and it makes it very comfortable so the shoe does not feel hard under my foot. I used to add arch support, but however I don't tend to do that as much because I find that this is a major game changer for me. I find that when I put this in there, the shoes are comfortable anyway, with or without arch support. And then you need sole leather. I usually use vegetable tan leather. So this is about 3mm vegetable tan leather that I purchased from buyleatheronline.com. I'll put the link in the description box below. And I just have a piece of the leather here that should be enough to do my insoles. So Now we're gonna go ahead and start with the designing process. Today I'll be making a pair of summer sandals, block heel sandals. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the designing. The main thing is masking tape. You put some masking tape, depends on the pattern you wanna make, where you need it. Usually put some across and some around. So I've applied the tape to the whole shoe, and it covers the whole last the areas that I need. And the next thing I'm gonna do is take a blade and trim out the bottom here where the shoes end. So I'm gonna take this piece off. So I've removed all the extra masking tape that's past the line, because you want it to fit you. So you typically will add allowance on this side to fold around, but you want to design it exactly where it stops. So the next part is to go ahead and actually draw my pattern on the shoe. So you use a pencil, and with the pencil you draw your shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my shoe pattern. So I did go ahead and cut all the areas that I did not need, and so I have now the pattern. So I took up all with a blade, just cut all the areas I didn't need here. So I just have my sandals left, and this is the heels I'm gonna put. So I typically put it here. These heels are somewhat high, but I still have a good amount of space underneath. My finger can fit there very well, so it's not too high for the shoe last. So this is okay. The next step is to take off the pattern and put it on a piece of paper and put on the seam allowances so I'm able to trace it. So I have two pieces of paper here, one for the front piece and one for the back piece. So I'm going to first take off the front piece. So this is the piece. I'm going to place it on the paper here. And when you place it on, you have to make sure you maintain the shape of your shoe. So pretty much you can, the ends that matter are the front and the inside. So you do those first, so your shoe does not become misshapen. You do those first. And then the rest of it, you slowly slide it in. And if you need to, you just, with a blade, just kind of cut the edge as you get to it, so it sits flat on the paper. So you do the same thing for this side. And you cut just at the edge of it so that it's sitting as flat as possible on the paper. Okay. So this is what it looks like on paper. Next thing I'll do is add a 3mm seam allowance here for folding, and 3mm seam allowance on this side for folding, and then on this side I'll leave a good 2 to 2.5 centimeter, about 1 inch on each side, so it folds underneath the shoes. So that's what I will do. You can do that literally with a measuring. So I'm going to measure out 3mm here, so it's right there, and I typically just guesstimate it. It doesn't have to be exact, but after doing it for a while, it's easy to just see exactly where it's supposed to be. So that's a 3mm edge for that side there, and I'm going to do the same thing here for this edge here. So on this side you have about a 3mm edge as well, and on the corners where that'll be lasting, I typically just extend it out and extend it out there about I'll say 1.5 inches. So 1 inch to 1.5 inches should be good enough. I might have to trim it out, but it's better to have more than less. So it doesn't have to be exact. So on this side, I extend my pattern out about 1 to 1.5 inches here. So in the end, this is what my front piece pattern looks like. And I am going to go ahead and cut it out with a scissors. All right, so I did go ahead and cut it out, and as you can see here, I made a slit right here, a groove where when I cut, I don't forget which side the medial side is. So I'll cut and just kind of make the line so that I don't forget which side the middle part of the shoe is. And so here's my front upper, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the back part of the shoe. I'm going to take it off and put it on a paper. So right there. And then that sits in place. I would like to make a cross strap. Not necessarily, they're not attached together, they're crossed over. So I'm going to redesign this a little bit on the top here. So here are my pieces, and this is the inside. I'm just gonna cross this over so it's nice and straight here. I do like my straps to be nice and thick. It's just more comfortable that way. I try to make them as thick as I can get away with. And I'll have skinny straps. Skinny straps look sexy, however, they tend to not be the most comfortable most of the time. So I did design it like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut one piece and then cut the other piece. So here's one of my straps. I haven't done the seam allowances yet. I'll do that in a second. And then for the other one, I'm gonna put it back the way it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna take another piece of paper. Okay, I'm gonna put the strap back on there the way it's supposed to be, like that. Then I'm gonna put that piece back in place. So I can draw across an imaginary line there so I can reproduce the complete strap without the slit. So, there we go. So I'm gonna put this back in place here. Okay. And I use some tape. I'm gonna quietly take this piece off. Actually, this piece was not like this. There, and the other piece is right there, actually. All right, so now I'm going to take this off. I'm going to put a tape that connects these two pieces together, and then I'm going to draw a line across. So I'm going to draw it across so that they meet. And here I'm going to draw it again so they meet. So now I got my second piece here. I will have to make it longer, so it doesn't matter. So here's my second piece drawn, and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. Right, so these are my two strap pieces on the back. This is the middle one because it has the V on it, and this is the other one. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put them on a piece of paper and give them some seam allowance so I can fold it over. I do like to fold my edges over if I can, because it just makes the shoe look a lot neater. So I have a piece of paper that I attached together. I'm gonna put my two straps on there so I have enough room to elongate them how long I want. So I'll do that. Have my seam allowance on it, and I extrapolated it down like a good 1.5 inches, so it folds underneath the shoe sole, so, or the shoe insole. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the pieces out. Sometimes mistakes are designs, and sometimes, you know, and it's true, sometimes mistakes are just your own signature on things. So I'm not very about having everything look perfect, look the same size, and I'm just not. It's just too much stress for me to try to do that. Some people are good at that and I'm not, and to me it will be more stressful to try to be perfect at everything and how it measures and everything. So I don't. So I put the straps side by side and just kind of make sure that they're similar size. I want to trim this one a little bit here so that they, you know, there's no size difference that's obvious. There you go. All right, so there. We have our 2 strap pieces cut out with all the seam allowances. And this is the outside and this is the inside. I'm going to go ahead and make a little V right here so I can easily tell when I'm cutting the side that's the inside. So now we have our pattern. It's just 3 pieces, which is great. It makes it easier to sew. But this means you have to cut 3 pieces of the main fabric and 3 pieces of lining. So you have 6 pieces that you have to cut for this.